He's the author of Inside Egypt, the Land of Pharaohs on the Brink of a Revolution. The former president, Hosni Mubarak, banned this book when it was first published across Egypt. You talk about some foreshadowing. Sir, it's very good of you to be here. John, thank you.
Thank you.
Your book predicted this stuff, I mean, not down to the T, but certainly in a way I haven't read anywhere else.
That's right, and it's all come to fruition today. And in fact, I suggested that the final outcome would be a military coup, because the military establishment has been in power since 1952. And as soon as there was a threat of chaos, and there really was a very serious threat of chaos today, if Mubarak hadn't resigned, I think the whole country would have descended into absolute pandemonium. I said that the military would step in. It's a force for stability, and it's done precisely that. And this is actually the perfect outcome for Washington and Tel Aviv, and it's a happy compromise for the majority of protesters.
Make no mistake, I'm sure many of our viewers know by now, after our quick 18-day crash course in all things Egypt, that this military has in large part ruled this country since 1952 in the revolution. And I don't know if Americans, I can't really come to grips with the idea that a military would run the nation, but there they seem to have made it work pretty well.
Yeah, and Mubarak was basically a figurehead. And so he was expendable, and that's the choice that the military had to make. They either had to fire on the protesters or they had to get rid of Mubarak. They couldn't fire on the protesters because Washington, its closest ally that provides it with its funds and its equipment and its training, Washington had told them under no circumstances, and the military had to listen. And so in the end it was Mubarak that was expendable, and it seems quite obvious that today they went to him and they said, okay, enough is enough, this is going to descend into chaos. Egyptians are not violent people, they're extraordinarily gentle people, in fact. And they told him to get the hell out.
John, you're a depth student of Egyptian history, and certainly recent Egyptian history. And I was moved a little bit when I heard you on Al Jazeera English saying that you thought if the military moved and this had gone the other way, that this could be one of the most violent revolutions in the history of the world. Now that this has happened, what's your sense for how this could play out now?
I think short term there will be stability, because the vast majority of Egyptian people are hungry and tired, and they crave normality and security. And there will be a small group of protesters who will stay in Tahrir and other places, and they'll keep a bit of pressure on the military establishment to make sure that they do fulfill their promises for democracy and so on. In the long term, I think it's a good outcome for America and Israel, because they were dealing with a military establishment anyway. In fact, it's probably better now because they don't have to deal with that imbecile Hosni Mubarak in the meantime. But in the long term, I think there's potential for a very negative outcome for the Egyptian people, unfortunately, because the Muslim Brotherhood prey on the disenfranchised and the impoverished. And unfortunately, as a result of this revolution, the Egyptian economy is in a disastrous state. They provide schools and hospitals and charity work, and more Egyptian people will need that. And so they'll have more recruits. And so that's one danger to look out for.
Yeah, history tells us that all the best laid plans, sometimes the wrong people end up in power, and the people don't get in the end exactly what they were hoping for. But it seems to me that's talk for another day. What a day of celebration across Cairo. John Bradley, it's great to talk to you. Inside Egypt is the book, The Land of the Pharaohs on the Brink of a Revolution. And lo and behold, it is here.